On a quiet Friday evening in a small town outside Portland, Oregon, something shifted inside the Carter house, though no one could have explained exactly when it began. Emily Carter stood in the living room holding the remote, scrolling through endless rows of movies and shows she had already seen or did not want to see alone. The house felt larger than usual. Her husband Daniel had flown to Chicago that morning for a 3-day business conference. He had kissed her goodbye at the airport, promised to call before bed, and reminded her to lock the back door. Now it was almost 9 at night. Rain tapped softly against the windows. The yellow lamp beside the couch cast a warm glow across the quiet room. Emily tucked her feet under herself and sighed. She had grown used to Daniel's steady presence, his quiet footsteps. The way he cleared his throat before speaking, the soft hum he made while reading emails. Without him, the silence felt too honest. Upstairs, a door opened. Ryan, her stepson, was 19, home from his first year at community college. He had Daniel's height and his mother's thoughtful eyes. Emily still remembered the first time she met him 3 years ago. He had been polite but distant, protective of his memories. Careful with his words, she had promised herself she would never try to be mom. She would just be Emily. She heard him walk down the stairs slowly. He paused at the entrance of the living room. "Hey," he said. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, couldn't sleep?" "Not really." He stepped inside, hands in the pockets of his gray hoodie. He looked older lately. Broader shoulders, sharper jawline. Not a boy anymore. "You watching something?" he asked. "Trying to," she replied. "Nothing looks interesting." Hesitated for half a second, then nodded toward the TV. "There's this documentary I saw online. It's about real couples. Old love stories, interviews and stuff. I thought it looked good." She raised an eyebrow lightly. "Romantic documentaries. That's your thing now?" He gave a small, embarrassed smile. "I guess. I don't know. I like hearing how people made things last." It was something in his voice, something thoughtful and heavy. "What's it called?" she asked. He told her, and she searched for it. When it appeared on the screen, she felt a strange coincidence settle in her chest. "I've actually seen this. Recommended before," she said. "I was curious too." He looked slightly relieved. "Mind if I watch it with you?" "Of course not." He sat on the far end of the couch at first, a safe distance, the kind that kept everything clearly defined. The documentary began with an elderly couple sitting on a porch swing. They talked about meeting in 1968, about fighting through hard years, about almost giving up more than once. The camera moved gently between their faces as they described falling in love twice with the same person. Emily found herself drawn in quickly. The stories were simple but honest. No music tricks, no dramatic effects. It's just people remembering. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, focused on the screen. Another couple appeared. The husband had lost his wife for 5 years during a separation. They reunited at a grocery store by accident. "Sometimes love waits," the man said in a cracked voice. "Even when you think it's gone." Ryan shifted slightly. "Crazy," he murmured. "What is?" Emily asked. "That people can lose each other and still find their way back." She studied him for a second. "You believe in that?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I just think it must feel good to know someone chooses you over and over." His words landed deeper than he realized. Emily folded her hands in her lap. She had chosen Daniel. He had chosen her. They had built something stable and safe. But lately, life had been schedules and grocery lists and quiet dinners eaten while answering emails. Nothing was wrong. Just wasn't. It's alive. On screen, an older woman laughed about falling in love at the wrong time in her life. "I was engaged to someone else," she admitted. "But my heart already knew." Emily felt her throat tighten. Thunder rumbled outside. Ryan glanced toward the window. Storm's getting worse. The lights flickered once, but stayed on. They continued, watching. As each couple spoke, the room seemed smaller, warmer. At some point, Ryan leaned back instead of forward. At some point, Emily shifted her legs toward the center of the couch. The distance between them shrank, without either of them noticing. When it happened, halfway through the film, the power went out. The room dropped into darkness. Emily inhaled sharply. Oh, for a moment, there was only rain and thunder. Then the backup hallway light clicked on, casting a dim glow across the living room. It wasn't bright enough to fill the corners, but it was enough to see each other. Ryan turned toward her automatically. They were closer than before, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. "Guess the universe likes dramatic timing," she said softly. She let out a nervous laugh. "Seems that way." The storm roared again. Without the TV noise, the house felt intensely quiet. Too quiet. Ryan didn't move away. Neither did she. She became aware of small details, the warmth coming from him, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the clean scent of rain and soap. It startled her how suddenly aware she felt. He broke the silence first. "Can I ask you something?" She swallowed lightly. "Sure. Do you ever feel like you're watching other people's love stories because you don't think you'll have one like that?" The question stunned her. She turned her head slowly to look at him. His expression wasn't playful. It wasn't reckless. It was open, vulnerable. "Why would you think that?" she asked gently. He stared ahead instead of at her.
I don't.
"No, I guess I just feel outside of things. Like I'm always observing, not really part of it." Her heart softened instantly. She had seen his loneliness before, but never heard him say it so clearly. "You're young," she said. "You have time." "That's not what I mean." His voice lowered. "I mean now. In general, sometimes I feel alone even when I'm not." That sentence lingered in the air. Emily understood that feeling more than she wanted to admit. She opened her mouth to respond, but the lights flickered back to full brightness suddenly. The TV rebooted, the screen glowing blue, the moment shifted. They blinked, adjusting. Ryan leaned back slightly, as if remembering where he was. "Sorry, that was deep." "It's okay," she replied. But something inside her had already changed. The documentary resumed. Another couple spoke about timing, about choosing the right thing instead of the easy thing. Emily tried to focus, but her mind kept drifting to the darkness a minute earlier, to the way his voice had sounded, to the closeness. She told herself it was harmless. He was lonely. She was listening. That was all. Yet when his arm brushed lightly against hers, neither of them pulled away immediately. It was brief, accidental, but it felt louder than the thunder outside. Emily shifted her hand slightly, resting it on her knee instead of the cushion between them. Ryan adjusted to creating a small gap again. Still, the air felt different now. Charged in a way she didn't understand. On screen, the final couple described choosing not to act on feelings that would have hurt others. "Love isn't just what you want," the woman said. "It's what you protect." Emily felt those words settle deeply. The credits rolled. Neither of them reached for the remote right away. "Well," Ryan said quietly, "that was intense." It was, she agreed. Another flash of lightning lit the window briefly. For a split second, she saw his face clearly grown, thoughtful. No longer the guarded teenager she had first met. She realized something then, something uncomfortable. He wasn't just Daniel's son sitting beside her. He was a young man with his own heart, his own questions, his own longing. And she was a woman who had her own unspoken emptiness. That awareness frightened her. She stood up gently, breaking the invisible thread between them. "I should probably head to bed," she said. "Big day tomorrow." He nodded, though he didn't move right away. She turned off the TV and walked toward the stairs. Halfway up, she paused. "Ryan." He looked up at her. "You're not outside of things," she said softly. "You matter more than you think." His expression changed something grateful, almost relieved. "Thanks," he replied. She continued upstairs, her heart beating faster than it should have. Inside her bedroom, she closed the door and leaned against it, Nothing inappropriate had happened. Nothing had crossed a line. They had watched a documentary. That was all. And yet, in the brief darkness when the lights went out, she had felt something stir, something she had no right to explore. Downstairs, she heard Ryan finally stand and head toward his room. Thunder rolled again across the Oregon sky. Emily walked to her window and looked out at the rain washing the street in silver streaks. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen, and that was what scared her most. Morning came too bright for the kind of night they had shared. Sunlight slipped through the kitchen blinds in thin gold lines, exposing every quiet thought Emily had tried to bury before sleep. She stood at the counter, pouring coffee into Daniel's favorite mug out of habit before remembering he was still in Chicago. The house felt normal again, too normal. The storm had passed, the streets were dry. But inside her chest, something unsettled remained. She heard Ryan's door open upstairs. Her pulse quickened for no clear reason. She told herself to act natural. Nothing had happened. There was nothing to explain. Ryan walked into the kitchen a few minutes later, wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans. His hair was slightly messy. His expression calm but thoughtful. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied, keeping her voice steady. He poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter across from her. For a second, neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, but it was aware. "Dad call last night?" he asked. "Yeah. His flight went well. He'll be back tomorrow evening." Ryan nodded slowly. "Good." She studied his face. He looked rested, not embarrassed. That surprised her. She had expected tension, distance, maybe regret. Instead, there was something open in his eyes. "About last night," he began. Her stomach tightened slightly. I didn't mean to make things weird." "You didn't?" she said quickly. He held her gaze for a moment, as if checking whether she truly believed that. "I just talk too much sometimes," he added with a small shrug. "You were honest," she replied. "It's not a bad thing." He gave a soft half smile. "Depends who you're talking to." The comment carried weight. She felt it. He grabbed an apple from the counter. "I'm heading out for a run." "Okay," she said. When the door closed behind him, Emily exhaled slowly. She walked to the sink and stared out the window at the quiet street. She replayed the moment in the dark when he had asked if she ever felt like she was watching love instead of living it. That question had come from somewhere real, and her reaction had come from somewhere even more real. She spent the rest of the morning cleaning, organizing, keeping her hands busy. Physical movement helped her think. By noon, she found herself pulling an old photo album from the hallway closet. It held pictures from her early 20s college friends in Seattle, road trips down the California coast, her first apartment in Denver. In those photos, she looked fearless, bright, certain. That life would be passionate and full. She sat on the edge of the couch, flipping through the pages. The front door opened. Ryan stepped inside, slightly out of breath from running. He slowed when he saw the album in her lap. "What's that?" he asked. "It's ancient history." She said lightly. He walked closer. "Can I?" She hesitated only a second before handing it to him. He sat beside her, not as close as the night before, but closer than the far end of the couch. He turned a page carefully. "You look different," he said. "Older?" she joked. "No, happier. Or maybe lighter." She looked at the photo he was studying. She stood on a beach at sunset, wind in her hair, laughing at something outside the frame. "I was figuring things out," she said. Everything felt possible. What changed? The question was simple. The answer was not. "Life," she replied after a pause. "Responsibilities. Safe choices." Safe isn't bad." "No," she agreed. "It's not." He closed the album gently and rested his hands on it. "Dad loves you." She nodded. "I know. But do you feel seen?" It's the same sharp honesty from the night before. No games. No hidden tone. She took a slow breath. "That's complicated." "Why?" "'Cause love and being seen aren't." Always the same thing. He watched her carefully, absorbing every word. She stood up and walked toward the window again. Distance helped her think. Your dad is steady, she continued. He's kind. He's reliable. After losing your mom, he needed stability. And so did I. We built something good, but, Rian asked quietly. She turned to face him. But sometimes good doesn't mean complete. The words surprised even her. He didn't move closer. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. Last night, he said after a moment when the lights went out, I felt like I wasn't invisible for once. Her heart tightened. You're not invisible, she said softly. Maybe not. But I feel like I am most days. Dad's busy. You're busy. I'm just here. You matter, she said firmly. I know. That's not what I mean. He ran a hand through his hair. I just don't want to feel alone in a house full of people. The truth in his voice hit her hard because it mirrored her own. She walked back toward the couch, but remained standing. Loneliness doesn't always mean you don't have people around you. Then what does it mean? It means you're not connecting the way you need to. Silence settled between them again, but this time it felt deeper. Do you regret watching that documentary with me? He asked. She considered the question carefully. No, me neither. There was no challenge in his tone, no push, just honesty. The afternoon passed slowly. They worked on separate things. He studied at the dining table while she answered emails from her laptop. Every so often, she felt his eyes lift toward her, but when she looked up, he focused back on his books. Around 6 in the evening, rain began again, softer this time. She made pasta for dinner. They ate across from each other at the kitchen table. This is good, he said. Thanks. Another quiet stretch. Can I ask something else? He said. She braced herself slightly. Kay? If things were different, if circumstances weren't what they are, do you think you'd want something more than what you have now? The question wasn't about him directly. It was bigger, broader, but it still made her pulse race. Hypotheticals are dangerous, she replied. Why? Because they let you imagine things without consequences. He nodded slowly. So that's a yes. She gave him a firm look. That's not what I said. He stood and carried his plate to the sink. I'm not trying to cross a line. I know. I just needed to know I wasn't crazy for feeling something shift. There it was, clear, direct. Her chest tightened again, but she refused to let panic guide her response. She walked to the sink beside him. Ryan, feelings happen. They don't always ask permission, but what we do with them, that's the choice. He looked at her then, fully. Honestly, I would never hurt Dad, he said. I know you wouldn't. I respect you, both of you. She believed him. Can I respect you? She said gently. Which is why we have to be careful. Careful how? By recognizing what this is. And what is it? She held his gaze. To people who feel seen at the same time. That doesn't automatically mean it's meant to be acted on. He absorbed that quietly. Rain tapped against the window behind them, so we just ignore it, he asked. No, she replied. We acknowledge it, and then we choose what kind of people we want to be. A long silence followed. He nodded first. Okay, he said softly. They moved back to the living room that evening, but this time they sat in separate chairs. Not dramatically, not coldly. Just deliberately. They didn't turn on another romantic documentary. Instead, they watched a light comedy. They laughed. At the same scenes, the tension eased into something steadier. At one point, their eyes met across the room. The connection was still there, but calmer now, controlled. She felt proud of that. Later, as she prepared for bed, she paused outside his door. Ryan, yeah, I'm glad you talked to me. So am I. Thank you for being honest. He smiled faintly. Thank you for not pretending you didn't understand. She went to her room with a clearer mind than the night before. The next afternoon, Daniel's car pulled into the driveway just after 5. Emily stood on the porch as he stepped out, tired but smiling. She walked down the steps and wrapped her arms around him tightly. "I missed you," she said. Dawn, she meant it. "I missed you too," he replied. Ryan came outside and helped carry in the luggage. Inside the house, everything felt balanced again, familiar. During dinner, Daniel talked about meetings and hotel food. Ryan listened. Emily listened. She noticed the small things she had taken for granted before, the way Daniel reached for her hand without thinking, the way he thanked Ryan for helping with the yard last week. Later that night, as rain began once more in the distance, Emily lay beside her husband in bed. Her phone buzzed softly with a message from Ryan. It's simply, "Read, we're good." She typed back, "Yes, we are." She set the phone down and turned off the lamp. Outside, thunder rolled gently across the Oregon sky. Inside the Carter house, nothing dramatic happened. No lines were crossed, no secrets were built. Just two people who had stood close to something fragile and chosen to step back. And sometimes that choice mattered more than any love story ever could.